Let's play some hockey! Tonight!
Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
Hey, it's the Gouche. It's more like a circus, for God's sakes. I'm here at the Colisée de Laval, and I'll tell you what, many great players came through. I've told you that before. Mike Bossy, Mario Lemieux, and of course, Jimmy Mann. And a guy that's coming up later to talk to me about not only the two greatest hockey players, I would say the three greatest hockey players of all times, or will be of all the times. Both, two of them in Edmonton, and one of them, of course, playing for Pittsburgh Penguins. I am excited to talk about Jimmy Mann with Gene Principe. You'll hear a story about that in a few seconds. Listen, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, it is game night. It's pregame for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll be talking to Marty Roberts from FiredUp Network all about the Leafs and the chances of them continue on with that masterful red-hot streak that they have. They're going up against the Minnesota Wild. We will definitely see what they're made of. But before we do all that, I have to say thank you for Jordan LaRoche. He has to kind of intervene when things don't go exactly where you want to. I'll tell you what, he put a masterful show together, and he'll be on with us in a few minutes talking about the Leafs. But before we do all that, it's brought to you by those good people at the Hockey News, Sports Illustrated, and Fired Up Network. And this guy gets me fired up every time I get a chance to talk to him, Gene Principe.
Gouche, how are you? And you know what? You're talking about Mario Lemieux in that arena. I remember being there. The Oilers have been to Montreal many times, and sometimes they're able to practice at the main facility. Over the years, the Canadians built a beautiful practice facility, which is an option. But I remember being at the Laval Arena, and I didn't realize it at the time, but when we walked in, there was some of the staff there, and then we started to kind of connect the dots and go, wow, this is where Mario played. And it just felt like it just felt great to kind of go back to where he was, well, unbelievably dominant, and obviously got drafted first overall. But one of those, I love the new arenas, of course. They have all the bells and whistles, but some of these older ones, whether they be NHL-wise or junior-wise, they just got so much history that makes them special, no matter how many years go by.
Yeah, you feel the history just being in here. It's an iconic facility, the old days with the rounded roof. And in one corner, you say hello, and it echoes throughout. It even goes to the dressing rooms. Hey, listen, I'm really excited to have you on. I know we got you for a few minutes. You're traveling all over the place. You just got back from Seattle. And it's just a great time to be a hockey fan, but more so you being a hockey reporter and right now reporting on, I would say right now 1-2, and you can figure out who's 1 and who's 2. Connor McDavid, of course, Leon Draisaitl, but you still have to throw in the old guy. We're calling him old, Sidney Crosby. Talk to us about that experience first when Crosby and McDavid faced off back in Edmonton.
Oh, it was great. And, for all the great players, I mean, Ovechkin's unbelievable player, right? Austin Matthews garners lots of attention and appropriately so. But there's something about these two guys, drafted 10 years apart, drafted first overall, both left home at the age of 15 to pursue their careers, which eventually has taken them to this point in not only their careers, but their lives. And it's great. And I think Connor, being the kid who's 10 years younger, it was kind of like Sid and the kid. I'm not saying he gets more excited, but I think you see the excitement a little bit more out of Connor, where Sidney's a little more down to earth, down to business. And, what he went through the COVID protocol. He had a wrist injury and surgery. So he's still kind of trying to find his way. And it was interesting after the first, they each assisted on the opening goals, and it's 1-1 in the game and between Sidney and Connor. And then eventually Connor had 4 points, and the Oilers sort of one going away, 5-2, even though it was 2-2 after 2. But yeah, there's an allure to it. And I think, Gouche, the other thing too is now these two never played together. We talk about Mario, we talk about Wayne. Remember the Canada Cups and in Hamilton and working together, right? And good old Dale Howard-Chuck, who's a first-line player. God bless him, playing on the fourth line, just doing whatever he had to do in order to help Canada, help the team. These guys have never played together. And so with the Olympics coming up in February, knock on wood, if everything goes okay, we'll get a chance to see them and maybe Crosby on McDavid's wing. So I think that adds another layer and another level to this rivalry, but also this friendship. and this role model between Sidney and Connor.
Well, I got to say, I'm jealous. I'm not only jealous that you got better hair than I do, but more importantly, I'm not jealous that you're living in Edmonton and I'm living in Toronto. So I think I got you beat there. But where I am jealous, you're in a city where I don't think people. You got to pinch yourself when you really think about it. We talk about all these great hockey players. Obviously, you're in Toronto. They now have Matthews and Marner, and they're very, very talented hockey players. But Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl, and going through those years with Messier, of course, and Gretzky, they have been spoiled. Edmontonians have been spoiled. Talk to us about that. And then all of a sudden, you're watching this, and then here comes Sidney right behind them all.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I, being an Edmontonian, born and raised here, I had the pleasure of watching those teams back into the 80s, and with the last cup coming in 1990, to be around. And I was just kind of getting my career started in 1987. But at that point, I was not covering the NHL, but certainly still watching the NHL. And then, you fast forward to 25 years when Connor gets drafted in 2015, and we didn't know what he was going to be like. We certainly didn't know, you spent a lot of time in Germany, what Leon Draisaitl was going to be like. And to see these two kids, 1 and 2 in scoring, and it's interesting too, because they're on the same team, sometimes the same line, but I mean, they are the total opposite the way they play, and the tools that they have, and those tools they use to succeed. And I think that kind of makes it, I don't know, it takes it in a different direction. If you had sort of 1A and 1B, and you're like, oh, these guys are like the same player, right? They do the same things. But they're so different that I think it just adds a level of intrigue. And they're kind of, first of all, I would say this, they're great friends. So, if anyone's thinking, wow, they're competitive and they're going for the same points, they're going for the same trophies. But eventually what they want is that big trophy, the Stanley Cup. So they get along great. And basically they understand the better Connor is, the better Leon is. The better Leon is, the better Connor is. And they're all about winning for the team. They'll pick up, individual awards almost by accident, just by being who they are. But they want to win a team award. And so to think what happened 25, 30 years ago, and now to see it happening, in a bit of a different way, but with those two young guys, it really is a pleasure and a privilege to have lived here, to have watched them, and now in my case, to get to cover them.
Well, we always say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I did get a chance to play against his father, Peter Draisaitl. Work ethic, a very disciplined, as you know, in Germany back then, very disciplined, very black and white. And I think Draisaitl plays that. And I think Connor McDavid adds the color to the whole thing that allows him to be him. And I'll tell you what, I know we talk about Connor McDavid, but Leon Draisaitl, full marks to him. It's 1A, 1B on any given night. Gino, we've been around the world together ourselves. Well, when I say the world, I've been with you in Winnipeg. And of course, I did want to ask you this question. The Keith Tkachuk thing, I need to go here because we look at a Draisaitl and we look at Peter. You've never met Peter, but when you look at that dynamic and then you watch Claude Lemieux and, of course, Brendan Maloney, you saw what went on. And then you see the Keith Tkachuk and the two Tkachuk brothers. You can see that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I certainly don't disrespect Claude Lemieux, but we know his rap. His son has certainly showed that same character. And when you watch the antics from the Tkachuk brothers, you see Keith had that little bit of an edge to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were at a golf tournament. I remember him walking up, getting ready to hit the golf ball. He took his shirt off, and I said, that guy plays in the NHL. He had a bigger belly than I did.
Well, yeah, that was a long time ago. Let's not forget, I think
Matt Rivers.
That was I was going to say Keith was a 1990 or 91, I think, first-round pick of the Jets. And in 30 years, let's just say the training has changed immensely, as you know, Gouche.
He was still playing, though, when we did that golf tournament.
I know.
He had a tire on there.
But that's what I think they meant by a power forward, right? Is a guy who had some size and lots of strength. And he had a marvelous career. And I see some of the attributes in the two sons to Keith. Certainly you see some of Brendan Lemieux and Claude Lemieux. And I do see Leon and Peter. And it's interesting with Leon, Gouche, it seems like not that long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, people in hockey kind of thought, geez, can this guy, he's living on Connor's coattails, right? He's on the same line with him, and people are like, oh, I wonder if he can drive his own line. Well, the answer's been clear for a couple of seasons, 3 seasons. I mean, he definitely can drive his own line, and he has become just a wonderful player. And I think the story behind it, you're 16, you come over from another country, and you attempt to build a hockey career. I'm sure there's many kids who get, taken in the CHL import draft, and you may never see them here, or they come here for a while and then go back. But I have a lot of respect for a young guy like that, leaving his family, including his dad, his mom, and his sister at such a young age, and heading over here with the dream, right? With a dream of being a National Hockey League player. And boy, has he ever fulfilled it.
I was looking up as you were talking. We'll move on from this, but I was looking up for Peter Draisaitl. I know he played for Team Canada. He also played for Team Germany. I think he played in Calgary, if I'm not mistaken, with Mark McKay. And he was such a dynamic. He's certainly not his son. I'll be the first to say that. But it's interesting to look back and see the success of some of these guys, and then you look at their sons, and they're just a better version. Well, maybe not the Lemieux situation. Sorry, Claude. All right, listen, talk to us a little bit about, as we wrap up with you. I know that your life. A lot of people don't realize it sounds really glamorous, right? Yeah. You have a makeup. Obviously, you have a makeup artist, and
you can tell.
Yeah,
makeup,
and you really. Your beautiful wife. But talk to us a little bit. I think people would love to know the life of a guy that's doing what you do. We see on TV, you're always bubbly, but it's got to be painful going through the airports and all that sort of stuff. And are you actually recognized around outside of Edmonton?
Well, it varies. Sometimes I think what's happened on the recognition answer, in the old days, basically, if you were doing Edmonton Oilers games or Calgary Flames or whomever the team you covered or did the job that I'm doing, for the most part, it would be just kind of that city and surrounding area that would actually have access to be able to see you. Well, now people see you from all over the place, Australia, Germany.
You're loved. You've got a fan club in Australia.
Well, and how you can't get one of those 25, 30 years ago, because they just wouldn't even see you. So the ability to be seen, and in the beginning, it certainly would always kind of throw you off. You're like, where are you from? And they tell you the city. You're like, well, how do you? Well, thanks to the advent of technology, that's the case. You know what, Gouche, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a pro athlete, and I never made it nearly as far as you did in hockey. I wanted it to be soccer. And so at a young age, I kind of thought, what would be the next best thing to being a pro athlete would be to cover pro athletes. So lucky enough to do it in my home city. Is lots of flying, lots of traveling. Obviously with COVID, there's a few different layers and steps that now come with it, as opposed to just kind of having your passport and your little form you got to fill out. You have to make sure that everything is positive by being negative when you're going from country to country. So it's taken me around the world. But I always say to people, the best part of the job oftentimes is to travel, but it's the worst part because you're away from home a lot. My kids are grown now, and my wife, they're used to me not being around, but it was nice during the pandemic to be around a lot more than I'm used to, a lot more than they're used to. And it seemed like it all worked out.
Hey, listen, there's nobody better than Gene Principe. Obviously I get you late night, usually around 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I just love, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited that you're my friend, number one, but that I can actually say to people, that's my friend. Listen, we have here at the Colisée de Laval. As I mentioned to you, I'm involved with the the Northern Pre-University Hockey League. It's been really exciting to learn, kind of about the younger kids coming up and aspiring. And I saw a couple kids with a McDavid jersey, even though we're in Montreal. I was thinking, why aren't you wearing a Montreal jersey? and Jordan and I got a chance last night to see the future of the AHL. We saw the Laval Rockets play against the team from Texas, and we got to see Keith Primo's son, Caden Primo. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Gino, the place was rocking. Like it was like being at any NHL. They did a spectacular job, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fantastic when we're getting, that's the thing I would say. We were talking about Sydney and Connor, and they played here on Wednesday night. And listen, there would have been a lot of attention to it, but having the fans there, even you could see it as they were arriving in lots of Penguins uniforms, even more Oiler uniforms. And then in warm up, the kids have the signs, "Hey,
Yeah.
Sydney, I'm your number one fan. Can I have a puck?" And it just kind of continued to build through the evening. How we miss the fans. It's so immense, the impact they have on the tradition of the game and the players that play in it. And any of us who've been in an arena, and I know you played at a high level, how can you not get impacted by having fans cheering and sometimes booing, but just building the level of intensity and noise? And so that kind of added to what happened on Wednesday, and adds to all these games in Laval, in junior arenas, in minor hockey arenas, wherever you are, having the fans there makes a big difference.
Hey, listen, Gene, you're my second best interview. Obviously, I'm going to Marty Roberts in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the pregame, but that doesn't even match what I did today. I actually interviewed Vic, the mascot. Oh man, it was great. You got to watch this thing. I'll send you over a copy of it. He was spectacular.
So I got beat up by a mascot. That's okay. I'll take it.
But you know what? I'm going to ask you. I asked him 2 questions. Who's your favorite announcer?
Oh, you know what? When I was a kid, and you'll remember him, Gouche, well, you were number one, but back in the day, Howard Cosell. I loved Howard Cosell, and Bob Cole, amazing for hockey, lifting his voice could tell you what was going on in the game. You didn't need the score clock. You could just tell by the way he spoke and the way he delivered his calls. So there's a couple, but so many. Canada's got so many great announcers, and it's great to just have a chance to do something that so many of those people have done.
Well, of course, the mascot can't talk, so I asked him, who's your favorite commissioner? And he pointed to me. And then I said, who's your favorite player? And I got this one. I canceled the kid. All right, Gino, thank you so much. I know you and I could talk for hours, even because I'd like to touch upon that Jeff Gorton thing that's going on over in Montreal, and if Patrick Roy will become the new general manager. Just a quick yes or no.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I love it. Gino, we'll talk to you next week if you have some more time for you. We love you, kid. Keep doing a great job out in Edmonton, and we'll be keeping watching you out west.
Yeah, you too, pal. Take care, Gouche. So long, pal.
Love you, kid. Yeah, wait till you see this interview I did with the mascot. I was waiting for a coach. The coach didn't show up, so here comes a mascot, and I had an opportunity to interview him. His name is Vic. He was hilarious, and you'll get a chance to see that in the next year or so. Hey, listen, let's get right into it. It's pregame. It's the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Minnesota Fighting Saints. Nope. The North Stars. Nope. It's the Minnesota Wild, and nobody better than Marty Roberts to help me out from FiredUp Network. Marty Roberts.
How you doing, Gouche?
How good is that guy's hair?
Well, you said that you're jealous of his hair. How do you think I feel with you two?
Hey, listen, you're looking good.
I got a haircut just for today.
All right, well, listen, let's get right into it. Well, before we do that, I'm sure you know Gene Principe. He is, for me, one of my favorites. Of course, I get to see him late night, but I just love him. He's been around the world as far as a hockey journalist. Him with Joe Piscucci, who's also a great reporter. Peter Young, I think you probably know that name, with the 50th anniversary from World Hockey Association. These are iconic, small iconic. It's not Howard Cosell, who we mentioned, but these are Canadiana icons, and it's just great to listen to them. And what's really cool when I said it, and you're old enough to remember Gretzky and Messier at their prime, and now we've got Draisaitl and of course McDavid, and we also saw Crosby and Ovechkin at their prime. We've been really blessed. We maybe didn't get Henri Richard, the Pocket Rocket, and all those guys, but we've got some really exciting players that we've been able to watch.
Oh yeah, and it seems like they just keep coming. Now you got an Austin Matthews with the Leafs. Sidney Crosby, Mario Lemieux. I've been a Penguins fan since Mario Lemieux came to the league, so I've my favorite player of all time, and I think he's one of the best. If he didn't get hurt, Mario could have touched maybe some of Gretzky's records. But yeah, we're lucky to see some of them, and we get to see them because of TV coverage. We get to see them all the time in here, and like you said with Gene, very knowledgeable guy. I've seen him late at night come on. I don't stay up late like you, but I get to watch him a little bit on when he's on the TV, and very knowledgeable guy. He's got that face for TV, whereas I got that face for radio, right? So he's a great guy.
I would say more you got hair for radio. Hey, listen, Marty, of course, tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs, probably the hottest team in the NHL right at this particular moment, are going up. Another very hot team in the Minnesota Wild. When you look at the numbers, I would almost feel, here's some numbers right now: 17-6-4 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, 16-6-1 for the Minnesota Wild, 9-1-0 in their last 10, 7-2-1 for the Wild. And of course, I'm picking Toronto. I think they're going to remain hot. Jordan's going along with the Minnesota Wild. We'll get him right at the end. He can give us why he's thinking that. But one of the things that I wanted to say is that at the beginning of the year, who would have thought that Jack Campbell would be out goaltendering a lot of the teams that are playing? I know that Jordan and I, along with Paul Rosen, we really questioned that part of it because we thought God, I forgot his name. Mrazek.
Yep, Mrazek. Yep.
He hasn't been in the lineup for so long. Jordan really liked that signing. Of course, he gets hurt. And none of us really thought that Campbell was good. He's backstopping it. 1.72 goals against, a 9.43 save percentage. These are Vezina numbers when you really look at it.
Yeah, no one. I don't think anyone could have thought that Campbell would have done this. And this is something that's a little concerning for me with the Leafs is that they're 10th in the league with allowing shots on goal. What happens when Campbell does start going bad a little bit here? What happens to the Leafs and their records, right? So there's only two other teams that are in front of them with the worst, allowing the most shots in the league and that are in playoff spots, and that's Edmonton. I believe the other one is Anaheim. So those are the only two that are in front of them. So they have to clean that up. Yep. Right now, Campbell is just being unbelievable. My concern is just what happens when he starts cooling off a bit, because he can't go like this all season. But what happens when he starts cooling off a little bit? What happens to the Leafs at that point in time? Have they cleaned up their defensive end of stuff, or do they struggle when it comes to Campbell not being as well as he is now?
Well, of course, Mrazek's going to come back. I know Jordan could fill us in a little bit. We don't know where he is advancing in his progression coming off that injury. And then, of course, they've got Jason Woll, who has been nothing but spectacular, small sample size. And I thought the Achilles tendon would be defense. And I also thought that goaltending would be questionable for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And both of them have not come to fruition. They have certainly been more than spectacular when we look at all the defensive and, of course, goaltending situation. Jordan's just popped up here and said Marner and Riley are game time decisions, and he will come on and update us with that. I know it's Leafs Forever with the obviously with the Fired Up Network. I know you bleed blue. No, that's Joe. I know you're a Penguin fan. Joe was nervous to come on today, I guess, because he was going to jump on him. And I was sticking with him. I want to leave. And, of course, Jordan, the producer, said, no, this is where they're going to get their reckoning. Well, what are your thoughts on this team right now? Are we being, at the beginning, people were throwing jerseys on, as we saw in Montreal, throwing jerseys and saying Marner's got to go. I was one of them. I've never been a huge Matthew fan. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it. But you got to give him full marks. They got lambasted at the beginning. They could have, got into a shell, stick their head in the sand. You've got to give Marner and Matthews full marks for stepping up and being unbelievable, along with John Tavares.
Yeah, Tavares, and then of late, Bunting has been really picking it up. Bunting, I really like Bunting. Even though he got moved down to the fourth line, I love Bunting. I just think he's a guy that has an edge to him. He'll get in there. He'll get the puck out for you. But yeah, we might be putting some media might be putting at least a little too high. I don't know if they're as good as they are playing right now. I think they are, though, a team that is designed for the regular season. I think they're going to have to make a few changes when it comes to a playoff type team. They're going to have to get a little bit grittier with some guys. They have a few, but they're stuck in the fourth line. So I don't know what happens when it comes playoff time with them. I really don't know, but right now they're looking really good. They got off that slow start. I think that was some injuries, stuff like that, but now they're becoming healthy-ish. We'll say, like tonight, like Jordan just said, you got Marner took that hit from Muzzin in practice the other day. Hey, the plus is Muzzin hit someone, right? So that should be a plus everyone should be looking at.
How did Muzzin catch Marner? That's what.
Well,
that's amazing.
Marner must be doing a little dipsy doing, just happened to run into Muzzin. That's the only way that happened.
Hey, listen, just before we get Jordan up here, I want to talk a little bit more. He's going to bring up some maybe some information about Mrazek and anything else about the goaltending situation. I want to look at some team stats, and I was looking at the stats as far as goals per game. Toronto Maple Leaf 3.08 goals per game. Minnesota Wild 3.74. I had no idea they were this prolific. But then when you look at goals against, the Toronto Maple Leafs are an incredible 2.17, and the Minnesota Wild are 2.91. But here's the incredible stat. Remember last year, the power play for the Toronto Maple Leafs was dismal, especially in the playoffs. They're at a 23.44% right now with their power play. It's clicking. And with the Minnesota Wild, that's been one of their Achilles tendon this year. They're only at 13.5. And penalty killing is kind of the same, but that's a huge stat that I think is showing and compelling tonight. If you put the Toronto Maple Leafs on the power play, the Wild are going to be in trouble. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Leafs, everyone knew last year that was their big thing. They couldn't score on the power play. This year they're clicking. They went on a little stretch there, 4 or 5 games where they struggled, but they're back to, like you just said, 24-25% clip. So if the Wilds take some penalties and the Leafs get on that power play, that could be, the end for the Wild. I think you see a tough game tonight. I really do. I really like, the Wild, the way they situate themselves. They might give the Leafs a little bit of a hard time tonight. They got some young guys on there with some veterans that, Kaprizov. That guy's just being lights out. Being lights out. I think he has, 10 points in his last 4 games. He's been lights out. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup tonight with him there, how the Leafs handle him. Do they shut him down, or does he just run wild all over the Leafs?
Yeah, he's got 28 points. 19 of those are assists. And this kid, dynamic on the power play. But obviously we're seeing that there's something not going right when it comes to that. Listen, as we look at this matchup tonight, of course, I'm really excited to see that the Toronto Maple Leafs, who we've all seen over the last 10 games, obviously being dominant in all aspects. And one of the places, and I saw this for my Winnipeg Jets the other night, nobody really looks at the stat about winning faceoffs. So important. Last night when we were at Laval Rockets, the Laval Rockets had a faceoff with only about 15 seconds left in the game. It was a 3-2 score. Laval Rockets had controlled the game up until that point, and then they lost the draw. Obviously, Texas pulled their goaltender. They lost the draw cleanly, went over to the defenseman. Caden Primo, who played absolutely phenomenal, slid over. He just had no chance because it was boom, 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 and it was in the net. Faceoffs are so important, not only in the offensive zone, but also in the defensive zone. And when you had, for the other night against the New Jersey Devils, the Winnipeg Jets, 37 faceoffs won and only 14 lost. Somebody would say, well, what does that mean? Why does that matter? Why it matters is that you're getting control of the puck, and you're having either controlling in your own defensive zone where you can get it out and you're not getting a shot on net, or you're controlling the offensive zone and possibly getting a scoring chance. And that's where the Toronto Maple Leafs have won a lot of their games. They're very strong in the face-off dot.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Winning that used to be a craft, right? They used to put a guy out there every time to win that faceoff. Now it's not as much with certain teams, but you win that faceoff, like you just said, offensive, defensive zone, it doesn't matter. You have control of that puck. It gives you a chance to get out of the zone or get a quality shot on net to score a goal. So winning faceoffs is a big part of this game, and I honestly think it's a dying cry. I see too many guys going down to one knee now, just trying to stop the puck from going anywhere instead of trying to win the draw back cleanly. So the Leafs have done a better job of that this year. I think, Tavares does a pretty good job at it when he's out there. Spets at times is pretty locked in when he's on the faceoff dot, right? So that's something that is a big part of this game, I think, and it's not a bad thing when you can get control of the puck off of the faceoff, right?
Hey, one of the best, Zdeno Konopka in the Ottawa Senators organization. He led the team in that category, and he's actually been called up by teams in the NHL to come and help protect, have the opportunity to show the young kids how to take faceoffs. That's a real good art. He's second all-time in faceoff percentages. Zenon Konopka. Hey, listen, you're watching Gouche Live here. I'm so excited to have my buddy from Fired Up Network and Leafs Forever, Marty Roberts. You are the pinnacle of information when it comes to trivial things, and I love that about you, buddy. Marty, listen, let's bring Jordan up. I know we talked about Mrazek. Let's find out where the injury is. Jordan, maybe you can also bring Marty and I up to speed when it comes to the Marner and the Riley thing. I saw Marner go to, was it a concussion or was it an upper or lower body injury?
it was an upper body injury, but again, not too much come out in the last, like half hour or so. So, I mean, I think they are going to go right down to the wire with it. But with Mrazek, I mean, they sent him down to the AHL for a little conditioning stint. He'll be with the Marlies for a little bit, probably 2-3 weeks, get him back into game shape a little bit and before they call him back up.
Well, I'll tell you.
Now, do you know, Jordan, why Hutchinson was called up and Wall is in the backup? Is he hurt too? I
didn't see that. I didn't check up on that. I can't tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, also, when you're looking at, just think about it. Mrazek comes back. And Jordan, you were really big on Mrazek when you started. I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit noisy here, but that's okay. I'm in the coach's room at the Colisée de Laval. And of course, they didn't make them soundproof. But I wanted to ask you, Jordan, Mrazek, when he's fit and playing well, how difficult is that going to be for the Toronto Maple Leafs to decide? Are they going to go 50-50? Are they going to go with a hot hand? And you being a goaltender, I'm sure you can explain to us, because if you all of a sudden tinker with you tinker with Campbell and start bringing Mrazek to get, because he was touted the number one goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs, what do you think will happen?
I think you just go with the hot hand. I mean, I think what this conditioning stint will do for Mrazek is, get him back into games, get him to game reps. But, so when they want to call him back up, he's at a point where he can go to a game right away. But I think regardless, even when he does come back, Campbell's just playing too well for him not to play. I mean, maybe you give Mrazek a couple more games and you give a Hutchinson or a Wall, but at the same time, it's just be really tough to kind of justify taking Campbell out of the net for extra games. And I mean, just with Mrazek, he's a guy who can go down at any minute. We saw that in Carolina as well. So again, it's a really tough situation. But again, Campbell is going to get more games for sure.
Well, you're thinking that Talbot's going to be in that tonight. It's going to be Campbell versus Talbot, and we will see how that all plays itself out when Mrazek gets back into the situation. Hey, Marty, your situation, obviously discussing goaltending and the defense. Are you happy with where the Leafs are right now with their defensive core?
No, I think Hall. I think Hall is the guy that has to be out there. I said it before. I think I would like to see the Leafs go to the Penguins, because I think the Penguins will be selling off here soon. And they get a Dumoulin from Pittsburgh, right, to bring him in and maybe be beside Muzzin. Because Muzzin and Hall together, to me, is just a disaster waiting to happen. Muzzin is second in the league in giveaways, and unfortunately, the only guy ahead of him, Gouche, is a good friend of yours in Brent Burns. He's the only one that's given away the puck more often in NHL amongst defensemen, and in a defensive zone, Muzzin's given the puck away 25 out of his 30 giveaways. So he's got to clean that up, because that puts a lot of pressure on that goaltender back there and Muzzin's partner to clean things up back there. So I think they have to make a move here to bring in someone else to help out on that defensive end.
The only person they could bring in to help O'Reilly would be the Hoover vacuum cleaner. Hey, listen, Jordan, you brought a very interesting stat here that I really haven't heard of before. 9.89 shooting percentage is the second highest in the NHL, and that's the Minnesota Wild. What does that mean exactly? So every time
they score on almost 10% of their shots.
Jesus.
So yeah,
and yet their power play is dismal. Are they not shooting?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I mean, I don't think this kind of pace is manageable to keep at this rate for the Wild. I mean, granted, they have some really good players, but I just think they're kind of on a roll right now. Like we said earlier, I think 7-1 won in their last 10. And and this team's playing well. Cantal is playing really well in net too. So I think this team has a lot of momentum coming into tonight. They're feeling good, and it should be an interesting one.
Well, they did spank my Winnipeg Jets 7-1.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this as we let you get closer to the end of the show. Ryan Hartman has turned out to be, I don't even know the name, so I'm really struck by this. 13 goals, 8 assists, 21 points for 23 games. Marty, do you know this kid at all? Have you?
I saw it a little bit, and Hartman's career is 31 points. That's what he has. His highest in his career was 31 points. He's already at 21 points already in the season, so he's going to pass all his career highs. That's for sure.
Jordan?
I've seen him play a couple of times here and there, like Grand Minnesota, West Coast. I mean, it is tough to watch some of those games, but I mean, when I have seen him play, I've been pretty impressed. He's a rugged guy. He's not afraid to go in the corners for the puck, block shots. I believe he spent some time in the penalty kill as well. So, I mean, this guy who can just do it all, and I think it's just a matter of time before he has a good, big offensive year.
All right, guys.
And I think Hartman has a little bit of grit to him, too. I was talking to my son about it, he was saying he had a little bit of grit to him, a little bit of that go get the puck out of the corner. So, obviously, he's working really well on that number one line with the other two guys on it.
Hey, let's just before we go to our predictions, I want to ask you, Jordan, anything else around the NHL that's caught your eye today?
Igor Shesterkin is on the IR.
I apologize. Big win last night, 1-0, and him going out. Does it look serious?
I mean, Gerard Gallant said right after the game that it's probably nothing major, but as of today, he is in the IR, so that means he's out for at least 7 days. And I'm praying it's only 7, but it could be a groin, it could be a knee. I mean, just the way he kind of skated off and walked off after, he needed a lot of help.
I feel for you, Jordan, because you just got this team playing where they needed to be. He was lights out, and then your friend, the backup, you're very, very. I think it was Ron Duguay that said he's not even a men's league goalie.
He's got an 850 save percentage, like a 3.5 goals against. I mean,
okay, we're not even going to ask him.
It's a scary week.
We're not going to ask him out for the Northern Pre-University Hockey League then either. He can go down in the minors. Hey, listen, Marty, anything that catches your attention?
No, nothing really. Everything, just the amount of goals that are being scored over the last few games, right? You had your Winnipeg Jets. They went up 3-0. I think they went down 4-3 and then ended up winning 8-4, right? So there's been a lot of goals scored of late, except for, the Rangers, 1 goal they mustered up, but that's okay. They won the game, right? But that's the thing that surprised me is how many goals have been scored over the last few days.
Listen, 1-0 in March, it's a hell of a win. Yep. Hey, listen, as we wrap up, we're going to the prediction. You guys did not mention that Scheifele had 3 goals last night and an assist, and Blake Wheeler came out of his shell. Oh, by the way, he's still an 0-4, but he had 3 assists, and that team really showed character. So, Scheifele, I've been hard on you. Congratulations. Well-deserved, and I think this is going to kickstart my Winnipeg Jets, and I'm still saying that they're going to be a Stanley Cup finalist, even though the people here are probably thinking they still think Montreal has a chance.
Well, here's what I'll say about Scheifele is that a lot of these guys that have had COVID, it's taken them a little longer to come back and get ready, right? And you see with Crosby, you see with Scheifele, it's taken a little bit longer for these guys that are usually top-end guys that are struggling to come back. So I think you'll see, like I text you, Scheifele got back into it last night. I text you that. I think you'll see these guys coming around in the next week or two and get back to their full strength, and we'll see how they do the rest of the season.
Hey, Marty, great to mention that, Jordan. We recall that Hellerbuck also had COVID, and he wasn't vaccinated. So he said it was one of the toughest things that he's ever been through. And then, of course, how long as a goaltender, you need that time to get comfortable back in the net. So we'll see how that plays out with Scheifele if he's back. He certainly showed that last night. Prediction time. We're going to go to Leafs forever. Obviously, we'll go to you from the Fired Up Network, Marty Roberts.
Yeah, I'm going tonight with the Minnesota Wild tonight to win a 4-3 game over the Leafs.
Ooh, there you go.
I just think the Wild are going to throw something a little different at the Leafs that they haven't seen all season, and I think that's going to cause them a little bit of havoc, and I see a 4-3 win for the Wild here.
Send hate mail, send grievances, or the bombs to Fired Up Network, all you Leaf fans.
Just to Joseph.
Jordan.
I'm gonna go low scoring game. I'm gonna go 2-1 Minnesota as well. They're really hot coming tonight. Cam Talbot stopped 98 of his last 103 shots and 950 save percentage in his last 3 games. It's tough to go against that right now.
Well, you know what? I'm a fan favorite, so I'm going to stick with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just because I don't want to take the hate mail I do every time I jump all over Matthews. I just think the Toronto Maple Leafs started off weak. They went through so much adversity. Fired Dubas. I was the first one to say it. The Shanna plan has gone to the toilet. And I've been really hard on them. I've got to give them a little bit of love. I think tonight, and I picked them to beat Colorado Avalanche, as you guys know. None of you guys did. 5-2, and they smoked them 8-2. And then the Avalanche with the same team came the next night and hammered the Montreal Canadiens, and I picked the Montreal Canadiens to win that one. So I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know I said 5-2 for them over the Avalanche. I'm going to go on a feeling, a gut feeling. I'm saying 4-2 tonight. And it's going to be an empty net to make it 4-2. And I think Matthews is going to put on a show. Because I'll tell you what, I don't think there's other than Ovechkin, a prolific goal scorer, that release, how he gets the puck, maybe McDavid too, but I think Matthews pure out, releasing that puck as quickly as he does. I don't think there's many that are as good as him.
Yeah, and since he shaved the mustache, he popped the 3 goals the other night. So hey, never know.
God, he looked like a cheap porn star. Now he looks like he couldn't even get in a bar for guys.
Right, like he looks 16 years old now.
All right, guys. Hey, Marty.
You think he's getting the beaver balls from Tim Hortons?
100%.
You can't say he's getting beaver balls on our show. Keep it clean here. All right, buddy. Marty Roberts, always a pleasure. I know that we're going to be talking this week. Can't wait to get you in the new studio at the Bottom Line. It's going to be fantastic. I know people are saying, shut up, Gouche. You've been promising it for months now. It is there. Jordan, you can do it. Yeah, we've got the camera. Now
we're there.
We're there. All right. Marty Roberts from Fired Up Network. We love you, kid. Say hi to Joe. Say hi to Terry. And we'll be talking to you early next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you, Marty.
All right, Jordan, great show. Thank you for producing it. I know I'm here in Montreal. You're holding the fort. I know you're going to pick your mom up. You got to be really excited. I'm excited for you. I know you haven't seen her for a couple of years. You've done amazing work with us, bud. Thank you. Take a couple of days off. Enjoy. Can't wait to see you coming up on this Monday.
That's good. See you Monday.
All right, buddy. The producer, Jordan LaRoche, he's done an amazing job as he's come. I really love having Marty and Jordan on to talk Leafs, of course, and I can't wait till Joe gets into the mix, and then we get him really, really fired up because he gets psyched over his Toronto Maple Leafs. Hey, I want to thank you for being here for the pregame show. I'm here live, of course, in Montreal at the Colisée de Laval, and I'm really excited about getting on a flight tomorrow and coming home. Not that I don't love Montreal, but I certainly love Toronto. And I will see you Monday for Gouche Live at 6 p.m. Don't forget, this has been brought to you by those good people at the Hockey News, Sports Illustrated, and of course on the Fired Up Network with Roku TV. See you later, boys and girls.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gouche, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.
Thanks, boys. You guys are